Lacrosse Legends. Lacrosse Legends, a comprehensive look at America's greatest game, featuring legends past, present, and future.
Today, Lacrosse Legends visits with the United States Naval Academy men's lacrosse head coach, Joe Amplo.
United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, second oldest of the 5 U.S. service academies, which educates midshipmen for service in the Officers Corps, the United States Navy, and the United States Marine Corps. Head coach of the Navy men's lacrosse team is Joe Amplo. Lacrosse Legends visited with Coach Amplo in his office at the U.S. Naval Academy.
Annapolis, beautiful around here.
You picked a good day to be here. Yeah, it typically is like this. It's a great place to be. It truly is. You're blessed.
A couple of people have said hello. Coach Panos first. Chris Panos.
That's an interesting one to start with. My boy Chris. Yeah, we were college roommates. One of my good friends from back in the day.
Yeah, he said at Sachem High School you were as well.
Correct.
First important question: Geno's or Eddie's?
Oh, Geno's all the way. But Pizza Stop is my place. If I'm dining tomorrow, I'm going for a corner slice. Pizza Stop, Sicilian, well done. Easy.
I love it. So you and Coach Panos, I started you together for the Boxel question.
Yeah.
So you two were roommates?
Roommates in college. He was a senior when I was a freshman.
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
After a semester, I went and moved over with him. Didn't last very long. Luckily, he graduated, so I was able to graduate after that, because if our paths continued in our living arrangement, we probably would be doing other things with our lives. So, yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. A posture, another person, Coach Isaac Neal.
Yeah.
He says hello.
One of my favorites. Yes. Doing a great job up there and coaching young men, doing a terrific job. He's making an impact, which is nice to see.
Yes, he's over at ING with doing some training over there. He spoke very highly of you also about the job you did with Marquette. How you brought it from basically the ground up and you make it a national contender.
Well, I was lucky to be around some really good people, and the classes that we put together, they were great human beings, and just they overachieved. And everything you want as a coach, those young men were able to do, and we were along for the ride.
What kind of hurdles did you face in a situation like that when starting something from the ground up?
I mean, it was the unknown. We didn't know what we were getting into. I don't think the institution truly knew what they were getting into either. Both sides, myself, my staff, and the institution wanted to be great at this sport. We kind of had to figure out things together, which was fun. It was a tremendously fun time of my life, trying to build a program and put a good infrastructure in place for sustained success at a great place, great institution, Marquette. And like I said, we were around some really good people. There were many hurdles, the first day we had to figure out where the lacrosse balls were. They didn't have any, and then it just started to build from there. But it was a really exciting, fun experience to go through with some really good people who cared about young men and cared about doing things the right way. And I'm happy to say that program now is built for sustained success for generations because of the work that a lot of other people did from day one.
Next on Lacrosse Legends. You're watching Lacrosse Legends.
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day.
Cranks and scores!
Once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
Now you have the United States Naval Academy. You've been here, this is your 6th year?
Yes.
What's been the secret to your success here?
Well, I mean, the success is still coming. We're still fighting our way back to where this program needs to be. We've had some spikes along the way, and we've been fortunate, but we've got to get more consistency. The secret to any success, no matter where I've been or any coach has been, is good players. We've got great young men here. They're going to give us everything that they have, and they're going to always try to fight to get the most out of themselves. And I'm also blessed to have a great staff. John Orson's been with me at 2 different stops, and I coached him in Hofstra. Now with Kenny Brochard and Blake Miller, Rob Camposa, Mark Goers, Tim Murray. Those men are just unbelievably caring. They work really hard, and they're experts in their field. And our young men are blessed to be around them.
When you're recruiting a player, are you looking for a player who's thinking Navy first, lacrosse second, or lacrosse first, and then you bring on the Navy aspect?
It's a combination. You don't just start with young men who have just the military in mind. Certainly it makes it a little bit easier from a clearinghouse standpoint. If you learn of a young man who is interested in the academies, it just makes our job a little bit easier, because that education piece of this is what this life is about, and these are the things that this institute is going to ask you to do, we don't have to dive so deep into that. We're after the best players, students, people possible. That's really where we start. The recruiting process is interesting, where the people and student part comes secondary, because the first time we get a chance to see a young man is on a lacrosse field. And then instantly we will start to evaluate them as a student to see if they fit the demographic here and fit the requirements. And then we go through a really stringent, strict, long process of understanding them as a human being to see if they have the character traits, the potential to be successful in this demanding environment. A lot of the young men we get, they didn't grow up thinking that they wanted to come to Navy. Some did, but most don't. Most just want to compete at a very high level and get a world-class education. And then as they start to learn more and more about this institution, they start to realize the opportunity that this place presents. And that's the fun part for us as coaches, is to educate the young men and also the families that this place can change these young men's lives. And I truly believe that. It's the one thing I say to every young man, is that the United States Naval Academy will change your life. It'll teach you a resiliency that not many other places on the globe can do. I think that's the benefit of coming to a place like this, with how challenging it is, because what it does is it spits out a young man who can tackle any challenge that the world can throw at them.
Well, you just answered my next question. I was going to ask you, what is your message to the high school student who might be considering the United States Naval Academy?
Yeah, it's just that, it's this is not an easy path. It's certainly an admirable path. It's not the path that many people think. There's a lot of, I say this a lot, is that this place is what it is, but it also is what it isn't. And I mean by that there's a college life here. There's the opportunity to play lacrosse and be good at lacrosse. There's a social aspect to this institution that exists. Is it different than most? Yes, it is. But our young men are not robots. They're just like any other young man on any other college lacrosse team. They've just chosen a different path for their college experience. So what happens is they turn into a little bit different version of what others can, because those others can't go through what our young men go through on a daily basis. So they can't duplicate the challenge on a daily basis, from time, from commitment in terms of the academic requirements, the secondary military requirements, and how hard it is to be good at this game of lacrosse at a place like this.
I see a lot of young people running. I got to get back at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's humbling. I've been on the yard now, like you said, 6 years, and there has not been a day where I have not seen somebody working out. And it could be you get here early in the morning, you leave late at night, and there is always a young person exercising, trying to get the most out of themselves. And I think that's what this place lifts, that and pulls that out of everybody. And it's truly going to force every individual on this campus to look inside of themselves and find out, what do I have inside that's going to help me become the best version of who I am? If there's anything that any young man or young woman who comes here finds out, is they're going to become the best version of that human being that they deserve to be.
Between the regiment, the academics, this training we talked about, and lacrosse, how did they balance all this?
Yeah, it's not easy. Part of it, the place takes care of it. I say to our guys, we give you the answers to the test. We tell you where to be, we tell you when to be there, and it's your job to show up and do the best you can in those segments of time. And that's the beauty of it, is that the answers are right there. Unfortunately, the test is really hard and it's challenging. Their days are filled with a lot of activity. Their nights are filled with a lot of hard work academically, and their afternoons are filled with trying to become the best versions of themselves as athletes. But the answers are right there in front of them. If you took that script and you put it to any civilian institution, those are the answers to the test. But those kids have a lot more free time, and they have a lot more choice in how to spend that free time. So some may argue that that version is easier. To me, I think our version's easier because it's right there in front of you. It's right there in front of you. We just have to demand a lot of our young men from the moment they wake up to the moment that they go to bed on a daily basis.
Next on Lacrosse Legends. You're watching Lacrosse Legends.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines.
It's another for Navy.
Do you find yourself as a coach having to accelerate their development process as a lacrosse player because of all the challenges that they face?
I mean, you'd love to be able to accelerate that. I think we're all trying to do that as coaches, to try and accelerate development of all of our young men. It's not a perfect science, you know? We're in the business of player development. That's truly what we have to do very, very well. And we focus on that on a daily basis from a lacrosse standpoint. I think we're getting better at it as a staff here because there are inherent challenges that exist at an institution like this that sometimes may stunt development. So we're mindful of that, you know, and we're always trying to figure out what's best to do that. That's the secret sauce at places like this, is we have to overdevelop our young man from a lacrosse standpoint.
Upon graduation, they have different branches they could go serve in?
Yeah, they do. There's some major branches. Most of our young men will choose several different options. United States Marine Corps, Naval Aviation. They can also be Marine pilots. They will choose Special Warfare, which is Navy SEALs or EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal. They can be Surface Warfare officers. They'll choose to go time on a ship and be an officer on one of the Navy vessels. They can be submariners. And then there's some secondary options, things like Supply Corps, Intel, Cryptology Warfare, things like that. We've had young men choose any one of those paths in the time that I've been here.
Coach for play in high schools. Is this something we just have to get used to and live with? Because it gives you an opportunity to see some players during the summer. On the same token, it puts some people at a bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I've said this to my peers. There's an entry point to be recruited financially in our sport now. And you're starting to see that the demographics shift even more towards a higher socioeconomic stratosphere. It is unfortunate because young men are asked to do a lot of things, and those things cost money. You know, they cost money. We as coaches, we're part of the problem because we have to go to these events, but if those events exist and we do not attend, then we're not doing our job. I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm not sure if things will change. Unfortunately for our sport, that's where we're heading, where there's a buy-in to be recruited as a lacrosse player for most.
You've been at Marquette, Team USA, where they won the World Championship when you were there, just recently in 2023, the US Naval Academy. What is your coaching philosophy?
For me, it's always been to have an impact on how young men think, act, and feel. That's truly how I think about my days and how I think about the organization of this program, my time at Marquette, my time with Team USA. If I can impact how young men think, how they act, and how they feel, then we have a chance as coaches to get the most out of them as athletes. And I think never more so than the current time where there's so much outside influence on these young men's lives. It's our job as coaches to try and keep them focused on what their goals are, keep them focused on their development, personal, professional, from the military standpoint, academically, and then athletically. If we can focus on that, and I know that thinking, acting, and feeling are three ingredients for them to be successful. I try and impact that on a daily basis. I try and reach a young man's heart and soul, develop a relationship with him so that we can identify how to best motivate him, we can identify how to best support him when he needs us, and hopefully along the way help him develop into a really good lacrosse player.
And how's the relationship with the Alumni Association?
It's been great. It's one of the things on my to-do list when I first got here was to re-engage Navy lacrosse. I mean, we're blessed to have one of the most storied programs in the history of our sport, which is Navy lacrosse. And there is a strong, energized, and now recently engaged alumni group, which we call the Brotherhood, that supports us in many different ways. Not just financially, but more emotionally. And they show up in person, they show up in spirit, mentors for our young men. They are the conduit and transition point for them to understand what the Naval and Marine Corps world is like. They help them through that transition, And then if they choose to leave the armed services, they help them into their transition into the civilian life. It's almost a daily basis that I'm speaking with an alum, and sometimes there's more energy, and most of the time there's positive energy. So I'm blessed to say that I'm thankful for that group.
Execute the role?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that exactly?
This is something we came up with a bunch of years back. It was always accept your role as a coach. Coaches want you to accept your role. You have a team of young men and you're given a role by the coach and you have to accept that role. That never sat well with me. I was always for someone being a great team member and doing what's best for the team. If I'm accepting where the coach thinks I am and just accepting that position as a scout team player or as someone who may not be getting what I want individually as my goals, then that's an indication that I'm not trying to better myself. So we say execute your role. As a great teammate, you have to execute the role that the coach has been given, but never accept that role because you should always want more. So you execute it by doing what the coach asks. You want me to be on the third midfield, play scout team this week? I'll do it to the best of my ability. However, I'm not going to accept that as an individual. I'm going to do everything I can to work my way up the depth chart. That might mean doing extra work, studying film, wall ball, shooting, whatever it is I need to do to improve my game to make sure my role next week maybe is at a higher level, right? So the difference between accept and execute is never be complacent, never be happy or satisfied with where you are. And it could mean for the star player who is executing the most prominent role, always choose to be better.
You also mentioned being process-driven.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly does that mean?
I think most coaches, they try and put a process in place, and we all have tangible goals. We have things that we want to accomplish. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to win championships, right? That's the end result. But that's not the most important result. To us, to me, and to many coaches, it's what's right in front of you. Your daily tasks. How can we make today the best version of today? Because if you stack great days on top of each other or great moments on top of each other within the day, and you push that out over time, then you have a chance to accomplish the results or the goals that you're looking for, right? If you waste time always talking about, always focusing on the result and the things that you cannot control, then you're going to lose time trying to be the best version of yourself within the moment in that process.
You played defense at Hofstra?
I did.
So you're defensive-minded. Are you defensive-minded in your coaching? Or?
Always have been.
Always?
Yeah, I'd like to think I was an offensive guy at Hofstra, but Coach Sanowski had other plans for me, so.
So does the defense Amplos have the green light to shoot?
Absolutely they do.
Okay, everyone heard that, right? Coach Amplo gives the Amplos
Well,
the green light.
the green light. Coming over the midline, they've got it. Yeah.
How do you feel about managing upward the top brass? I'm sure they're always expecting a win.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody wants to win. That's always true. But I think the best administrators, and we have great administration here that I've been around, they appreciate the spirit of college athletics and what it does for young men and the development piece, not only as an athlete, but more so as a person. And here, and the reason why I wanted to be here is because we have a chance to have a small impact on developing the world's next great leaders, you know, and we call this the Leadership Lab, and I truly believe they're learning lessons of leadership and community and organization and culture that these young men will take to the fleet and help impact young sailors and Marines when they're doing really important things. And I think our administration understands that. And I know that they appreciate how we're trying to develop these young men so that when they leave and they put on a different uniform and they serve our country, they're able to do it with unbelievable experience and do it at the best of their ability.
We have to talk about the Patriot League. Tough league. I don't think it's given the credit that it's deserved between Navy, Loyola, Lehigh. They've given you problems in the past. I'm not asking for your strategy, but I'm sure you're prepared for them this year.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a heck of a league. I do think it's an undervalued and underappreciated league. Each year, there's many of us that compete nationally. We can compete nationally in spurts, but more importantly, there's great coaches, there are great players, and the league is just, it's vicious to go through. You know, last year everybody was within one win of first place, and I think there were 5 teams tied for first place at one point. There's every indication that that's going to be the same thing this year. And again, it goes back to what we can control. We can control trying to be the best versions of ourselves and develop our team to the best of our ability so that we can be playing our best within the Patriot League, because that is always the goal, to compete for a championship within that league. But we know it's going to be a weekly grind with the teams that we're going to face in this league.
Blue of the seven seas, gold of God's great sun, let these our colors be till all of time be done. By seven shores we learn an eastern call, faith, courage, service, true with honor over all.
Could you speak about the character of your team? I hear you use the word culture more than character, but could you just speak about these guys are tough? I have to say something. I did see them last year at the Army. They were putting some hits on people I couldn't believe.
Yeah, and they're physically tough, there's no doubt. You know, the mental toughness piece, I think, is an ongoing process. That's what this place brings out in you. We do talk about culture a lot. And we talk about a few things that are important to us. You know, our pillars are being bold, accountable, together, and doing it with love. And when we talk about being bold, it's the courage to be vulnerable. You know, go ahead and make a mistake. Go ahead and try to do something that is going to put you in an uncomfortable position. And there's courage in that. Not just on a lacrosse field. It might be in a relationship. It might be in a classroom setting. It might be socially, where you're trying to develop a different relationship or a leadership moment for you as a midshipman here. Be bold. Don't just be another guy walking down the street. Accountability is doing things our way. And it's taken us a while to identify what our way looks like here, right? But now I think we've got a pretty good foundation of who we want to be as a program within the confines of this institution. And accountability is not just holding yourself to that standard, but holding others to that standard. Doing things together, the way we talk about it, is the team is always the most important thing. The team, the whole team, and nothing but the team. So that could be on the lacrosse field. It also means being the best version of yourself as a student, as a midshipman, and handling yourself socially, making good decisions that always have the team in mind, right? Talk about being principled as opposed to being preferential, right? Make principled choices as opposed to preferential choices. In any great teams, there's an element of love that exists. And I think young men have to understand what that means, right? How to be intimately care about someone else from a human perspective, and do that in a way that is unconditional. When someone makes a mistake, we have to look into their hearts and have the willingness to forgive. But we also have to hold them to a standard in a loving way that will bring out the best version of themselves.
The 2025 Army-Navy game.
It's a long way away. We are so lucky in so many ways to be able to represent Navy in that game. It's hard to describe the feeling that you have leading up to it. It's tough to describe the feeling you have when you're not successful, and how that sits with you every day until the next opportunity that you get. It's a Super Bowl every year. It truly is. And I have so much respect for their program, and Joe and I have become great friends over our time together, and I have great respect for him. And we're lucky that we have that there's mutual respect on both sides. We certainly want to kill each other on that day, but it is a respect that you can truly appreciate when you're in it. Look, the last 2 years we have not been successful up there and here, and that sits with us in a tough way. It is always the goal to beat Army. We talk about results, that is the result that you want and you necessarily need at an institution like this. So I'm excited for it. I know our guys are excited for it, and I know it'll be a great opportunity for the world to see two really good programs to play their best on that given day.
Will it be a special uniform for that day?
Not sure yet.
Well, Coach, thank you for everything you've done for the game, everything you're currently doing for the game, and everything you're going to do for the game. And more importantly, if you wouldn't mind passing this message along to your guys, thank you for defending our freedom, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
And look forward to seeing you on the lacrosse field.
We'll be there.
All right, so thank you, sir.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Great.
So it's
got challenge points?
Yeah, Navy lacrosse on here, and then it's got our principles on the back, bold, accountable, together with love. So I'm presenting that to you.
Oh my!
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thanks
I'm
for coming.
touched. Thank you very much, Coach.
We don't give them out very often, so.
Coach, thank you.
We're doing a good time. Maybe you'll cheer for Navy when we play on.
This is Monsanto Muzak for Lacrosse Legends.
Now colleges from sea to sea may sing of colors true.
Shot scores! scores!